Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zachary. Hope you're all having a great day. But we got 7 games of NBA action to cover today, so let's just get right into it. To start off today, the Boston Celtics just played some of their best basketball of the season last night in their 124-107 win over the New Orleans Pelicans, avoiding falling below the 500 mark on the year. And for Celtics fans, I know that this is a Celtics team that they thought they were going to see to start the season, with the defense moving, active hands, passing the ball, and most importantly, guys who were actually making shots, as Boston shot around 50% from the field and over 48% from 3, made 19 of the 39 triple attempts. So by all intents and purposes, this was a great game for the Boston Celtics. But that being said, as of right now, that's still all that this was. A single great game. This one win doesn't mean that this Boston Celtics team has turned the corner just yet. And now all of a sudden for the rest of the year, they're going to start playing like the team we thought they were coming into the season. And that's because there's still a lot of things that Boston does need to figure out first. For one, Gordon Hayward at some point is going to need to be able to incorporate himself into the starting lineup. He's been coming off the bench in favor of Marcus Morris recently, but at some point he's going to need to get back into the starting lineup, and that's going to be another big adjustment period for the Boston Celtics. And another thing that's going to need to change is Jaylen Brown. Now, he actually didn't play last night as he was out with an injured tailbone, but offensively, the guy has to figure it out. He's shooting below 40% from the field and 25% from 3, while at the same time attempting 4 threes per game. Now, that may not be as bad as Russell Westbrook's 17% from 3 on nearly 5 attempts per game, but it's still extremely bad. Now I'm about to say something, and what I'm about to say isn't me saying that this is the situation that the Boston Celtics are in right now. But that being said, if the Boston Celtics do not get better and the trade deadline rolls around and they're still not playing consistent elite level basketball, it'll be time for the Boston Celtics to maybe make some very hard decisions. And I think that Terry Rozier and Jaylen Brown are players that the Celtics should at least consider moving on from. Terry Rozier is for pretty obvious reasons. I just don't see him coming back to the Boston Celtics next year. I know some other team is going to make him a ridiculous offer in free agency that he's not going to be able to turn down, and the Boston Celtics are not going to be able to match. So I'd be very surprised if they weren't shopping him around for a more permanent backup option around the trade deadline. As for Jaylen Brown, I think the Boston Celtics should maybe look into trading him for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because offensively, I'm just not sure how long he's going to fit in with this Boston Celtics team. As once Gordon Hayward does return to normal and get back into the starting lineup, the confusion of the pecking order between Tatum, Hayward, and Brown is going to be on another level, and it's not going to be very easy to figure out. Realistically, Jaylen Brown should be the 4th or maybe even 5th option behind Al Horford on offense for this Boston Celtics team. But I don't know how okay Jaylen Brown would be with accepting that long term and realizing that as long as his team stays together, that's going to be his role. So that's one reason I think the Celtics might come to the point where they have to start looking at possibly trading away Jaylen Brown. But another one is one that's pretty inevitable. It's because of money. Financially, Boston is going to have to start making some extremely tough decisions. You're gonna have to pay Kyrie Irving top dollar this summer. Al Horford is on the books for $30 million for each of the next 2 seasons. You just handed Gordon Hayward a max contract. Jaylen Brown becomes eligible for a contract extension this summer, and then Jason Tatum the summer after that. And the bottom line is, all of these guys can't be max level players. You're about to have 3 max level players alone this summer once Kyrie Irving gets his deal. So what happens with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Jason Tatum's going to be a max level player, and I'm sure that some team is going to throw a max contract Jaylen Brown's way once he does become a restricted free agent. And if that happens, will the Boston Celtics be willing to match that deal? Or is he going to be the one that they decide to sacrifice, kind of similar to how OKC sacrificed James Harden back in the day? Next up though, we have to talk about the Houston Rockets, who just lost their 3rd game in a row, as after losing to the Pistons and the Cavaliers, the Rockets now fall to the Washington Wizards in overtime, 135-131. And this is despite James Harden scoring 54 points and dishing out 13 assists, and Eric Gordon also dropping 36 points as well. And yes, Houston fans will be quick to point out that over the last 2 games, they have been without their starting point guard in Chris Paul. However, the appropriate response to that is, we're not talking about the Rockets losing to the Warriors or the Raptors when you're down a key player. Sure, you can maybe use that as an excuse then, but we're talking about the Rockets losing to the Cavs and the dysfunctional Washington Wizards. There's no way that James Harden should score 40 points against Cleveland and lose, and then 54 against the Wizards and you still lose. And there's been a couple of reasons specifically as to why the Rockets have lost their last 2 games more than just Chris Paul being out. And the first reason is because of their defense. Their defense has regressed big time with the past couple of games. In their game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Rockets got out to a slow start defensively. The Cleveland Cavaliers got comfortable offensively, and the game was pretty much over after that. And last night, Houston allowed Washington to shoot nearly 60% from the field, which in and of itself is a clear indicator that no defense was being played at all. So defensively, they have regressed these past couple of games. And other than that, the problem with their depth has shown as well. You can't have one guy go down and then all of a sudden you no longer have the talent required to win games, especially when you still have the reigning MVP on your team. But for some reason, that just happens to be the case with this Houston Rockets team. As depth-wise, they don't have much. When Chris Paul goes down, Eric Gordon has to step into the starting lineup, and Eric Gordon is typically the only player on the Houston Rockets bench that the Rockets can depend upon. The rest of their bench is absolute trash. Last night, their bench combined for a total of 5 points. And even in the starting lineup, they have a player like James Ennis, who is a solid NBA player, but by no means is a starter in today's NBA, or yesterday's NBA, or last week's NBA, and especially a starter on a team that has championship aspirations. Let's just be 100% real here. No team that has James Ennis as a starter has a shot of beating the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series. For our next game of the day, a week ago, it was a large talking point around the NBA and amongst the fans that Kevin Durant can't carry a team on his own in the Western Conference, as the Warriors were in the midst of a losing streak with both Draymond Green and Stephen Curry sidelined with injuries. Now though, that conversation has already been put to rest as Golden State gets their 3rd straight win behind yet another impressive showing from Kevin Durant, as he followed up his last 44-point performance against the Kings with an even more impressive 49-point performance against the Orlando Magic in the Warriors' comeback 116-110 win. Next up though, we have the Utah Jazz versus the Indiana Pacers. The Jazz still without one of their star players, as Donovan Mitchell remains sidelined with a minor hip injury, while on the other hand, the Pacers' Victor Oladipo is still out with a sore knee. I will say though that it might have taken a little bit more than just Donovan Mitchell to save the Jazz in this game, as they were absolutely buried by the Pacers 121-88. Indy shooting nearly 60% from the field and 50% from beyond the arc. One good thing about this minor injury to Victor Oladipo for Indy though has been Aaron Holiday, as he hadn't been getting any minutes when Victor Oladipo was healthy, but with Oladipo out, he started to carve himself out a nice role on the team, and he's been playing extremely well. He had 12 points on 6 of 8 shooting last night, and I look forward to the days when both he and Oladipo become one of the best backcourts in the NBA. Now though, let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks for a bit, as the only thing holding them back from truly being a threat to the Raptors in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, is their consistency. They've had a couple of games like this season where they wind up losing to teams that they have no business losing to. This time it was the Charlotte Hornets, 110-107, as the Bucks got up to a slow start in this game and ran out of time before they can complete their comeback. That being said, maybe the difference for the Hornets in this game compared to the last few games was the return of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, as he did a terrific job defending both Giannis, Middleton, and whoever else he guarded at times last night too. Kidd-Gilchrist forced the Bucks into one of their worst offensive games of the season, where they scored a season low of just 40 points in the paint. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers' 2-game win streak was very short-lived, as they fall to the Minnesota Timberwolves 102-95. And to all of the Wiggins fans who thought the Butler getting traded will result in improved play by Andrew Wiggins, unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, as he followed up his 0-point game with another very inefficient game where he scored just 11 points. And on the season so far, he's averaging a career low 15 points on below 40% shooting from the field. And I would say that I would like to see Wiggins get traded, because maybe a change of scenery could do him good, but with how he's playing and how much he's getting paid, that's virtually impossible. And lastly, the San Antonio Spurs get back to 500 on the year with a 10-10 record after barely scraping by the Chicago Bulls 108-107, thanks to LaMarcus Aldridge scoring 11 of his 20 points in the 4th quarter. And that is going to bring us to the player of the day, where you guys have the opportunity to vote for who you think was the best player in the NBA last night by clicking the little eye icon in the top right-hand corner of the video. Just remember though, the only players whose team won are eligible to win player of the day. And that concludes this video, guys. Hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, then why not consider subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with the games and the news every single day. Yeah, every single day. Thank you guys for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, and until next time, I'm out of here. Peace.